Welcome everyone to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend Matt.
You know, I know we're a football podcast, but I feel compelled to mention the fact that Illinois basketball is ranked number 19 right now.
Well, you know what? We did have a moment. I believe you've done. I don't necessarily know if it was an intro, but you've done at least a segment on this show earlier this year, back when Illinois finally became bowl eligible.
Yeah, definitely did something about that.
Or beat Wisconsin. I think
both were good.
Both were significant moments in Illinois history. But unfortunately, the state of Illinois is not going to be the subject of our podcast. Instead, we're heading to Florida because
why?
We're going to do something in Miami this week.
We are. We're going to the Super Bowl, Chris?
No, we're not going to the Super Bowl, but we're talking the Super Bowl.
Okay, I thought you got a surprise ticket.
that was the other surprise that I have saved for you. No, welcome everyone to the Super Bowl edition of the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. We have been grinding for weeks on end, providing you with episodes of our nerdiness and our expertise about the NFL. Not so much expertise.
All ends here.
It all ends here as the number one seed of the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers, take on the number 2 seed in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs, in a non-New England Patriots Super Bowl. And with that, we've completed our sweep of mentioning the Patriots in every single episode of the season. So there you go. No, but look, it's an exciting time. It is the first red versus red matchup.
Which is awesome.
It's Super Bowl history. So
that's really cool.
Very, very nice. And of course,
get that blue versus blue shit out of here.
Yeah, exactly. All the blues are done. And of course, there's one quarterback that has played for both of these teams that everyone absolutely loves. Of course, I'm talking about Alex Smith, who's played for the 49ers and the Chiefs. But that one guy, Joe Montana.
Who names their kid after a state? I know that's their last name.
I was like, yeah, they just their whole family, their last names are just states.
Yeah.
What up, Jim? Minnesota?
Why that state of all states?
Oh, just take a shot of their Montana. We have a plethora of Montana viewers, Matt. You don't want to take shots.
Do we?
Of them.
You're the one who looks at the analytics.
I only know United States. That's all they show.
Look, okay. So weird. Okay, so what would be the weirdest state to have for any name? Because Washington, that was a guy.
Pennsylvania,
California, is Pennsylvania's. Well, although Penn was
a real name, but if you had the Sylvania,
if your full name was Pennsylvania, or if your full name was Massachusetts.
Right, Massachusetts, yeah, or worse, Utah. If you're
I'm just thinking like being named like Joey Utah or something. That actually sounds kind of badass.
You know what? Actually, I actually respect that a lot.
But Frank, Ohio.
Yeah. I don't know. There's some names that you think are bad, but then all of a sudden you think about it, you're like, that actually could work. Who knows?
Vermont Williams.
Vermont. Now we go into first names.
New Hampshire. Anything New Hampshire.
If you just have "new" in front of your names, I think that would make it a little bit bizarre.
Yeah.
It's the 11th Super Bowl in Miami. So there's been plenty of Miami memories. In fact, the last time that San Francisco won their Super Bowl, which was 25 years ago, it was in Miami. So I'm going to replicate that. Fox is going to be broadcasting the game. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are on the call.
Yay!
And Joe Buck, the fun thing about this, which everyone gets on Joe Buck. I've grown to like him a little bit. I feel like he's gotten better over the years as a broadcaster. His father, Jack Buck, also a famous play-by-play guy, was the guy calling the last time the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl 50 years ago.
Wow.
Fun little note there.
That's cool.
And we got, the singers are out. Demi Lovato is going to sing the national anthem. We got Jennifer Lopez and Shakira at halftime. Bill Vinovich is going to be the head ref, which you don't know the name, but he was the ref for last year's NFC Championship game.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
Oh no.
Yes, he was.
Oh no.
So there you go. That's your fun facts.
They made a rule because of him.
They
changed the rule book.
In fact, I don't even want, like, I don't know. There was a side there. I don't know where he was positioned on the field. I'm gonna have to go back and look. So I don't know if it maybe be directly on him or one of his like crew members. But that he was in charge. And,
that famous decision that everyone was okay with.
Yeah, that everyone was just fine. Everyone just kind of like shrugged it off, and we were able to just talk about Rams Patriots going to the Super Bowl. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
So just a quick somber note though to this whole Super Bowl, because we enter the week, we're usually, everyone's so excited, we're talking about it a lot, but it's been overshadowed a little bit, and rightfully so, after Sunday, where we had something happen that I think just, I in my lifetime, I think I've had I talked about this on Twitter too, I think I've had like 2 deaths, celebrity deaths, that I think really affected me, and the third one, maybe not affect me, but like shocked me in another way. And the third one came on Sunday, where in an unfortunate helicopter crash, NBA legend Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 other individuals were perished in a helicopter crash, and it shocked the world, and it was just absolutely stunning. And for us too, I mean, I don't want to necessarily speak for you, Matt, but I neither of us are huge NBA guys. I mean, I've been trying to get more into the NBA, but we all knew Kobe. You knew Kobe from like the school where like everyone would just, whenever they would try to make a shot into the trash can, which was the theme of this week when people were talking about him, like everyone would just shout Kobe. There's that one that McElroy family video, the Monster Factory, where the Wii Sports, and he just says Kobe over and over again.
Kobe over and over. Yeah.
But it's just it's such a shame. Yeah.
When I was editing the Doc of Shame podcast, I was looking for clips to use at the beginning, and I went over that part where we were like, Kobe's for accuracy, Yeats for distance. Like, which
I forgot about that.
Yeah, which like just what was just like that vocabulary, but just that also just the impact that he had in a bunch of different ways can't go unstated. Yeah. I remember watching a talk of him talk about working and talk about his work ethic, and one of the most inspirational things I've ever seen. He is one of the greatest people to like get a lesson in work ethic from.
Yeah. He
really worked hard to get to where he was, and he just felt like he felt immortal.
Yep.
To a lot of us, I think, and that's what shook us the most.
Yeah, I mean, he was
why it shook us so hard.
Yeah, he had that mentality of I'm gonna outwork everyone, and that a lot of stories like that. And there was a great, and I would encourage anyone that would be interested to check out the NBA on TNT's Twitter, because inside the NBA, one of the best sports shows on television, had one of their greatest episodes, I think, ever. And great, obviously maybe not the best word, but just one of the most riveting television, where you had Shaquille O'Neal, who obviously was so close with Kobe, and Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith, and a bunch of people, Jerry West, the known as the logo, because he's the logo of the NBA. All those guys sat and talked about Kobe and the memories they had in an hour-long special. They had other guys later on, because they were broadcasting a game later that night rather. But it was just incredible television, so I really recommend anyone talk about that. That was the only note I wanted to really make on it, because I felt like it would be weird for us not to acknowledge it. Rest in peace, Kobe. Rest in peace, Gianna, and of course, and everyone else and our thoughts go out to everyone that was affected by such a terrible tragedy. Now, to turn the page into something a little bit more silly, we we wanted to really embrace all aspects of this week's Super Bowl, because we could go on and on about the game. I even sent like a huge list to Matt before the recording about all the different players and people and the different storylines about this game. And there's so much to talk about with the game, but I think there's a lot of people out there who watch the Super Bowl for other reasons, and one of which is the commercials. The commercials are a huge aspect of it, where capitalism just, takes life by the horns and just like absolutely does ridiculous stuff with it. The most ridiculous thing thus far was Mr. Peanut dying, which they actually had to revoke because of what happened with Kobe.
Right. They remembered that funerals were sad.
Right. So like I don't know what exactly they're gonna do now. Like if they're gonna just swap it out with another commercial. Like I have no idea. But they promoted this whole thing of Mr. Peanut dying, and now that's
I think the commercial was going to be like his funeral.
Yeah. It's so weird. It's so bizarre. So I tasked Matt and also myself to try to come up with really dumb commercial, stupid or silly. I mean, or even really creative. If you want to go down the stupid category, I went down the stupid category for
right,
mine.
I'll get us started off.
Yes.
Okay, I want a commercial. Some commercials try to get super artsy with what they do. Where it's more like their product is in the background of things rather than like the focus of the ad. So I really want a Super Bowl commercial that's like one of those, but they totally forget to like put their product in or their logo at the end. So you don't know what commercial you just watched.
It's just like a segment. It's just like a scene.
Yeah, like a bunch of people hanging out, like laughing with like emotional music over it, and then there's just no logo at the end.
Yeah, they just pan. It's like that. They have like the last shot of like the house they're all in, and they're all like you hear the music in the background. You hear the narrator just being like, and remember that it's the good times don't last long, so be close with one another. This this winter season or whatever. But they don't even show any of the product. I love that.
Precisely.
I love that. I have something along those lines. I found I love the commercials that they have this long inspirational quote. It's like along the same lines as yours, like where they have this long inspirational quote, and nothing is kind of related to the product at the end, where they do end up showing the product, and you're like, why? But like, it's like, okay, I mean, that was nice, but like, what does this have to do with anything? So I'm gonna read this quote from Maya Angelou, one of her favorite quotes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna just present what I think this commercial would be at the end. Okay.
All right.
So, and while doing this, I want everyone to just imagine like this, what she's saying, almost like visually playing out. All right. So, quote: "I've learned that no matter what happens or how bad it seems today, life does go on, and it will be better tomorrow. I've learned that you can tell a lot about a person by the way she handles these three things: a rainy day, lost luggage, and tangled Christmas tree lights. I've learned that regardless of your relationship with your parents, you'll miss them when they're gone from your life. I've learned that making a living is not the same thing as making a life. I've learned that life sometimes gives you a second chance. I've learned that you shouldn't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. I've learned that whenever I decide something with an open heart, I usually make the right decision. I've learned that even when I have pains, I don't have to be one. I've learned that every day you should reach out and touch someone. People love a warm hug, or just a friendly pat on the back. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel." And I picture that, end quote. And I picture at this moment a man standing in front of a counter and someone handing them something, and you don't see it, and the guy looks down, and it's a delicious roast beef sandwich. Eat Arby's.
I legitimately I had a slight feeling something was gonna go that way. because I was also thinking of turning nihilist Arby's into a into a Super Bowl ad.
Well, that's what it is. It's like, but like I'm thinking about it, like these companies do this shit all the time, like Subway. Like, doesn't everyone remember Subway from last year? Oh my god, he's like the kid's going through life, and it's just like he's really sad, and like he's just kind of growing up, going through pains and stuff. And obviously, he just arrives at a Subway and he gets a sandwich, and that's it. And it's like what?
I want to share a tweet from Nihilist Arby's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't forget, we all die. At least now we all get to do it together soon. Enjoy Arby's.
There you go. Right. Yeah, that's kind of like Arby's was the first thing that came to mind, I think, because of that Twitter account.
It's always Arby's.
it's almost always Arby's. Do you have another one? Oh, okay.
I do.
You can finish your thought,
this
though.
one, no, this one is about some brands working together. And it's kind of like that same idea of like just a story.
Okay.
But what it's going to start out, someone's going to start out in a Subway. They're on their laptop. They're eating their fresh sandwich. Jared is nowhere to be seen, and they pan to the laptop. And what's he on? Indeed.com. He's looking for a job. Right? Okay. So he uploads his resume with all the features it has, and he ends up getting a job. And he starts traveling somewhere, maybe like on Amtrak or some shit. And he arrives. There's like a slow pan. It's bright. It's sunny. Not a huge building in sight. And then you see past him. He's at the Clydesdale Budweiser Farms.
So it's just all intertwined. It's like all the famous all the Super
ads.
Bowl.
Look, you know how expensive Super Bowl ads are getting, right?
They're like I believe the total this year was $5.6 million.
Exactly. So you gotta like pool your money together.
Yeah.
Like companies like it's like sharing an apartment. You can't afford it. You can't afford it on your own, so you need some roommates.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that a lot. I also imagine, and when I think about commercials too, I think about the ones that have run for long periods of times, like these campaigns that, famous that these companies do. And I think about the one that was maybe the most excruciating to watch during the college football season, which was Fansville for Dr. Pepper. And so I imagine a Fansville commercial for the Super Bowl. Because why not? And they're in a delivery room, and Eddie George, he's played the doctor this whole time on the show. And he's gonna deliver the baby, and it's like a couple. Both of their faces are like painted with whatever state I think it is, like state versus Tech or whatever.
State, yeah.
Yeah, and
I think they're all state, and then that one baby was Tech.
Yeah, but they give birth, and the baby that is pulled out is a doctor is not Dr. Pepper. It's a Dr. Thunder bottle. And it's a commercial for Dr. Thunder.
Dr. Thunder and Mountain Lightning, that shit going on.
Just like, not only do you not have a human child, and not only can they not help you root for Stay or Tech, but now it has also portrayed the soda that your whole fictional town is based around.
Yeah.
It's
wow.
Dr. Thunder. Like right. Like almost like in like Eddie George's like hands like almost start to burn off. Like it just gets terrible.
There's one commercial that was so bad it will like always stick in my head.
Mm.
It was, I don't even know, it was some sort of like Ford competition with a bunch of different cars and a bunch of different teams, and people were like trying to like get the teams were trying to like give people support.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the product was, but I remember like the really bad acting of like, please, we need your votes, like really totally selling it, but not at all like trying to sell it like a had the diction and enthusiasm of a YouTube Twitch streamer whose main audience is 10.
Yeah, you know what? I can picture that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we just have Twitch streamers do all the commercials.
Oh yes,
Call everyone guys. Ask for donations.
Yeah, Ninja is just in every single commercial, which is that's what they started.
Mixer now.
That's true.
Not Twitch.
That's true. So does that automatically rules out of commercials?
Yeah, so we can't have him on Twitch.
Except for like a Microsoft commercial.
I'm talking like just the really generic white guys, which is most of them.
Right.
But then you put all the usernames like as the wrong usernames, but no one can tell the difference.
Okay.
except for the 10-year-olds watching the game.
That they're like, hey, wait a minute. This is just like, and they're outraged, and their parents can't let that, like they won't shut up about it. The parents can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I picture a commercial where there's like a mass apocalypse and like aliens come and attack the world, right? And you're seeing them abduct people and shoot buildings down and stuff. And all of a sudden there's a shot of like two people on the ground and they're like, oh god, they destroyed a great landmark, and like it's completely destroyed. Like there's just rubble everywhere. And all of a sudden, a big gorilla comes through, and they're like, "Oh!" And they all scream because they're like, "What the hell is Gorilla doing there?" And then they hand them Gorilla Glue for the building.
Right, kind of similar. The biblical rapture is happening.
Okay.
Specifically, the biblical Christian one.
Okay.
Is happening, and like people are rising, and there's this one guy at a park bench who's looking at everyone rise, and he realizes that as all of them are rising, they're dropping things. Okay. They're dropping their Coke bottles, their bottles of Coke, and he realizes he would rather be where there is Coke, and so he takes a sip, and then really chill like. Plays over top as the commercial ends.
That honestly, and Coca-Cola would absolutely do it.
They would absolutely do that.
Like all these commercial ideas, they would absolutely these commercials will not turn them down if they're actually seriously pitched. That's the best thing about the Super Bowl. I think that there was a stretch where like the Super Bowl commercials have not been good. I think last year was a little bit better. So let's hope that the Super Bowl commercials they deliver at the level that we've brought these commercials to the forefront.
Yes.
So the other aspect of the Super Bowl that I think a lot of people watch is the halftime show, and for us, that I think that does bring in a lot of the people of the a lot of people who just enjoy pop culture things, and enjoy the popular artists and stuff. But I also think that there needs to be a pathway for nerds. Us dorky people who just want another reason to actually to watch the Super Bowl if we're not into football. So I ask you, Matt, what's a halftime idea that could happen for this?
You can't talk to me as a person about this topic and not have me say a marching band.
Oh,
and not
that's
just,
true.
Not just a
that's
marching
true.
band. Not just a marching band be part of the show, because they've done that the past couple years. I think it was Cal got to be in the Super Bowl 50, and Minnesota got to be in Minneapolis's Super Bowl.
Okay.
So marching bands have been parts of shows. College marching bands have, but there's a whole market of drum corps stuff where people go insane with drum corps and competitive marching band in general. If you're not in the marching band world, you just don't know how fucking wild some of these shows are, and they are extremely entertaining. You would have to put a little bit of a pop culture spin on it. You would have to do Old Town Road.
Right. You have to do all the popular songs.
Right, but you could do it in a way that makes it extremely entertaining, very physically involved, and a visual spectacle. Now you couldn't have like the fan section on the field because like they would get trampled on by the marchers.
Right.
Like,
you have like the Stanford band play again.
Yeah, but it would be more interesting than most recent Super Bowl halftime shows. The only exceptions, like most of the halftime shows have been really bad lately. Yeah, I really liked Bruno Mars's.
Yeah, definitely.
From 49, and then I really liked Lady Gaga did a great job.
Yes, I agree with that as well.
Yeah. Justin Timberlake, trash. Katy Perry, a meme. Thanks to Left Shark.
Yeah. I think the worst of them in recent years was last year's in Maroon 5. I really
Maroon 5 was awful.
I think it was awful.
I forgot what last year's halftime show was.
Yeah,
it was that bad.
They tried to redeem it by including remember that whole petition that happened with like trying to get SpongeBob, and they did it for like they showed SpongeBob for 5 seconds, and then they just moved on. They didn't even do Sweet Victory, which was the whole freaking point of the petition.
It was the petition, like the like request was not to have a SpongeBob cameo.
Right.
It was to play Sweet Victory.
Yeah, exactly. In honor of Steven Hillenburg, unfortunately, who passed away last year, or 2 years ago at this point. So yeah, no, that they completely dropped the ball on that. No, so I love that idea. I think that the marching band I actually think would be a legitimate request. Like I think that legitimately could actually work.
Literally search up like any DCI show the past few years.
Yeah.
The high rankings, Bluecoats, Cavaliers. Those are probably like the two big ones. Carolina Crown. Yeah, you just do it.
Yeah,
just have a marching band.
Big up marching band. I mean, it would be great. I mean, the NFL obviously would not. They would want at least one big name, but it would be great if one of those artists just embraced the marching band and just had just singing along as they marched around.
Have a cool drum major uniform. Do a song in the middle of it.
Yeah. I would love that. I would respect that a lot. I went even worse. I went even more deep into the nerd rabbit hole.
What do we do,
Chris? What would happen if there was a Dance Dance Revolution competition that breaks out, and like they have someone singing there, like they have the pop star there, but in the meantime they have two people on either side just going freaking apeshit, just absolutely just losing their minds on Dance Dance Revolution, and see who has the best score at the end. Like have them compete.
Amazing.
That they could actually make that be really cool. As long as they have the artist in place, like you could have two people on either side, and you could have like two screens showing how their progress is. It could be just a makeshift Dance Dance Revolution.
You could put like even just a big screen with like the split screen stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And on the stadium's jumbotron, like.
Yeah.
It could be done.
It could be like the World Championships of Dance Dance Revolution right there at halftime. It would be beautiful. Wait, do you have any other ideas?
No, the marching band was the only
one. I also wrote down a riveting Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons.
The famously slow game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes. I like an hour-long Dungeons and Dragons.
Meant to be played in one's imagination.
Yes. There's no imagery, just four guys sitting on the 50-yard line.
Not even like medieval time stuff going on, just straight up like someone's got paper and a bunch of dice. It's like, you awake in a prison cell underground. Light gently pours in from the window.
They're like barely mic'd up, so they have to like scream it.
A dragon folk guard stands outside.
Has nothing to do with football or the NFL. Like they just straight up it's just this Dragonborn. It's Skyrim. It's just a Skyrim Dungeons and Dragons.
Dragonborn's the race. I said dragon folk. It's Dragonborn.
Yes.
I was thinking like I was combining lizard folk and Dragonborn.
Oh, okay.
Into one thing, but the Dragonborn is also the thing in Skyrim, like the main character's thing with the Fusroda shit.
What do you think about like video game characters performing? Like do we have a video game character that is famous for songs that we would present? Like I feel like if we're really gonna if we're presenting this to the Super Bowl board, you know, like what would there be a video game character out there?
Famous for singing.
Famous for songs. Who I keep on thinking.
Pauline from Mario
I was
Odyssey.
literally about to say that. I was literally about to say that.
That's literally the only, like, recent.
Like, Pauline singing the same song.
Yeah.
For like 15 minutes. Like that. And which is, it's catchy enough where people won't get sick of it, but it's... like, that's... I can imagine that. You have, you could also have, like, an orchestra playing, like, very classic video game tunes. And, you know, have like a famous singer sing that at some point, you know, bringing that into the front realm. I brought up some nerdy bands. I consider NSP a nerdy band. But,
I would love to see Ninja Sex Party.
But there is no way.
I literally don't think they could advertise a band with the name Sex.
And most of their songs involve fucking.
Right. Check out. Sound like, check out this sweet boner.
Yeah.
And then parents having to explain
no reason boner
to their kids what they're talking about.
You could have you could do like the nerdy, like some of their nerdy songs like they have where they're like defining like fighting the whatever it's called, the Loch Ness Monster. I forget, they call it something else in the song.
But like Samurai Abstinence Patrol.
No.
They could do 69 and have that be a full show.
That it could, and
it could.
The new song that came out with Mystic Crystal, like I feel like that could have that could actually work. There is some, like, obviously there is some like sexual aspects to it, but come on, if Janet Jackson can have her boob show on stage, we can have NSP perform.
You can have a band that sings about their dicks.
Yeah, you absolutely. No question. After 2004, all limits were all out the window at that point. All right. And one last thing before we get to the Super Bowl. The NFL Honors is going to be happening the night before. And we got some predictions in mind about who's going to win what reward, or what award, not reward. They're going to be rewarded the award. Language. But let's start. We'll start kind of like in the more obscure categories. Who do you think could win Comeback Player of the Year?
So at the middle of the season, I said the Comeback Player of the Year was going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. Which I really like the pick of.
Yes. But
it's Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
No one went through a transformation in terms of their skill level like Ryan Tannehill did. So yeah, I think if it's about coming back from injury, then Garoppolo should win it. Obviously.
Yes.
But like in terms of like improving yourself as a player compared to the year before, no one beats Tannehill.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm picking Tannehill because it's one of the great stories I think of the 2019 season was the fact that he was able to
especially
do
how
himself.
Good he was at the end of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that a lot of people might point to the playoffs and be like, he didn't do as well, but he was never really it was never really his fault that his team lost at the end. You know, like no. I think that, you know, you can point at the defense, you can point at a lot of different things, and he has earned a way to potentially sign a deal back with the Titans and be a franchise quarterback for them.
They'd be stupid not to.
Yeah, at this point. Coach of the Year, what do you think?
Coach of the Year, I'm going to go with Kyle Shanahan.
Okay.
Because the past few years, it seems like Coach of the Year has been the coach that has taken a really bad team into being a really good team. And going from essentially the bottom, being the number 2 seed, you won one more game than the bottom.
Yeah, number 2 overall pick, you mean?
Yeah, the 2 overall pick. In the draft.
Mm-hmm.
From there to number 1 seed, and now the Super Bowl. Like, obviously the voting happened before the playoffs, but
yeah,
being able to turn that around and really just show like why they hired you is a really big deal, and I think Shanahan really deserves that.
I think that he's definitely he might end up getting it. I think for me, I just if they do end up voting on this before the playoffs, and I think that just the way how the season ended for the Ravens, I just think that John Harbaugh has a really good shot at it as well, just because the way how the season ended the season prior for the Ravens, how a lot of people were questioning whether or not Lamar Jackson's skill set was going to work with the NFL, and not that he didn't do it on his own because he just has so much talent, but it was a lot of great coaching from guys like Greg Roman, but also of John Harbaugh of sticking with his young quarterback and making sure that they were able to set things up in order to make sure that he could succeed, and certainly it seemed like both units on both sides of the ball just were playing outstanding near the end of the regular season and just seemed unbeatable until obviously the divisional round. And I think John Harbaugh has a really good shot at winning, so I'm picking him for now. But I agree with you. Kyle Shanahan should absolutely be considered as well.
Yeah, both good choices.
Let's do offensive rookie of the year first. You go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay.
You go first this time.
I'm gonna do AJ Brown just because I know it's two Tennessee guys already in this group, but I think that it was Josh Jacobs for a lot of the season, but he got injured near the end of the year, and he ended up not really being around as much for the Raiders, and obviously the Raiders ended up not having that great of a finish to the year either. But I just look at AJ Brown, and he showed up at the right time for this Tennessee team, and him and Tannehill had such a great connection. And he slowly just transformed into a wide receiver one that just was unstoppable until the playoffs, obviously. But he was excellent, and I think that it's a weapon that the Titans needed and now will have for years to come. So I'm with that on AJ Brown.
Absolutely, AJ Brown became one of the best wide receivers like towards the end of the year. Not even just rookies, just wide receivers.
Yeah.
Which really good for him.
Yeah.
I think I'm still gonna go with Josh Jacobs just because, and that seems like the more obvious choice.
Yeah.
But he did really well in his rookie year. They definitely want him to be the focal point of this offense going forward. And when you show this much in your rookie season and the organization kind of like can back you up on it, that's a really good sign. He played really well. He's gonna have a really good career.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think at least I think that it's definitely, he seems like he's gonna be the favorite right now. On that front.
Let's say our defensive rookie in the year on 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Nick Bosa.
Okay. Well, I mean, and what even can be said about him? He just dominated the league, and he is even in contention for Defensive Player of the Year, which you just don't really hear rookies, in that conversation necessarily. He just was absolutely incredible over the course of the year, and it's one of the reasons why the Niners are in the position that they're in. So yeah, that's why we're in agreement.
him combined with all the other members of the front with healthy Dee Ford and Quan Alexander are a scary front.
Well, yeah, and yeah, you got DeForest Buckner and our Eric Armstead, like all these former first round picks that weren't really showing up in the past, and they're showing up now. Like it's great. And what about let's do the players of the year. Let's start with offensive player of the year. Usually, what the NFL tries to do is give this to like the MVP runner up.
Right.
So, who do you think is going to get this?
So, in terms of MVP runner-up, the MVP runner-up is going to be Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
However, I can't not say Christian McCaffrey.
Of course. I get it.
Yeah. Just because he was the best, he was the best non-quarterback in football on the offense this year. What he was able to do for that team and just more for himself as the season went on, just because as the more and more that the Panthers started to suck, the more and more like Christian McCaffrey just became the focal point of everything.
Right.
He played so well. Like he got the volume for it, but you just don't get 1,000 and 1,000 just on volume alone.
Yeah.
You gotta do something to actually get to there. So he was great this year. He's going to be great for the Panthers, even though they're kind of in the rebuild mode. And it could just be because I'm very fantasy football focused, but
no, yeah,
he was awesome. He was great and the best non-quarterback this year.
I mean, he was an MVP candidate before like you said, before the Panthers, ended up going, down the drain, and he's just it's just been an incredible year. I think that people are going to end up choosing Russell Wilson just because of like who was in the race kind of in the end of like MVP, like great players. Because I think that McCaffrey ended up kind of getting forgotten near the end of the year. I kind of hope he does get it because I think that he definitely worked his butt off to get it. But I think that Russell Wilson will, just because Russell just had another incredible year, and kind of carrying a team, especially in times where things were just not, especially near the end where the Seahawks were just beat up and like they almost had no one on the roster, but they still were trying to win games and they were fighting to the very end. So they have Russell Wilson to thank for that. He put this team on his back and he was able to do a lot. So
you know what's wild?
Yeah.
I had the top 3 MVP candidates of the season all on the same fantasy team.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But you won though, and that's
I won.
And that's how it ends up working.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out very well.
By
the way, having good players on your fantasy team helps you.
Yes,
wild.
That's insane.
Wild.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But that took 2 years of having to sit through maybe like a kind of like a not great roster, having to trying to rebuild that team up, and it took a few years and it got there.
I mean, everyone I won the championship with, I drafted last year, with the exception of Tyler Boyd, who I got off the waiver wire last year.
Yeah, there you go.
And Mark Andrews I added at the start of the season.
Yeah, so
he was an important piece too.
That's how these rebuilding teams go. You're like the Niners of the Niners of fantasy right now. And defensive player of the year is a very interesting conversation because it's wide open. There's a lot of different players that could win this award. It's not going to be Aaron Donald, even though he did have another great year. But what do you think? Who's going to win it?
I don't know if I necessarily want him to win it, but I don't. I feel like just all the talk around Stephon Gilmore is going to be unable to be overtaken.
Mm-hmm.
Shaq Barrett and Chandler Jones, I think, are the others who are like the big ones in contention.
T.J. Watt, I think, is considered.
T.J. Watt as well,
yep.
Yeah. So I think they all have their cases, but Stephon Gilmore's is still so strong, especially because like the notion all year about how bad the Patriots' offense were real.
Yeah.
But the Patriots were still extremely dominant thanks to their defense, and Gilmore was their leader.
Yeah, I do wonder though, like with the Patriots collapse at the end, if that, I mean, especially with how poorly the defense was, in the last few weeks, although they only would have one week of those to judge for the award, I wonder how much that would be a factor. I'm gonna just go for what I hope is going to happen, and I would love to see a guy like Shaq Barrett, who came out of nowhere, led the league in sacks, and just was just wonderful to watch, end up evolving into a dominant player, and so that's why I'm going to pick him for my defensive player of the year, and he's going to be a free agent now, so who knows if I know the Bucks want to re-sign him, but that's a big time player now that goes onto the market. It's a much different market for him now going into this season than last season, for sure.
For sure.
All right, and last but not least, MVP. Want to do this on 3 again?
Sure. 1, 2, 3. Lamar Jackson.
It would have been funny if you were just like
so like Tom Brady.
Yeah, or like Justin Tucker. Like it just whatever. Lamar Jackson is very deserving of it. And I know that a lot of people gave him grief for the divisional game, which was ridiculous. He was incredible all year, and he showed that he could win in the NFL. And it sucks that they lost the way they did in the playoffs, and that's gonna haunt them. But now they have to. They're gonna hopefully be back. I mean, this is a roster that does not going to lose a lot of players, and Lamar Jackson he just was so incredible this year. He just is so deserving of an MVP award, and I think the rightful validation for all of his hard work just to get to this point.
Yeah. I obviously I have I feel like I have a skewed vision of a lot of players just because of how I see them, either have them or go up against them in fantasy, or just see how well they do. And look, when a player does what Lamar Jackson does for you as a fantasy football owner, someone that you draft in like the 17th round of a dynasty startup draft, and then get a trade denied when you try to trade him for Blake Bortles before he becomes a starter, and then the next year have him like, I remember him getting like 20 points one time and me being upset.
Yeah.
20 is like a very average quarterback number for those not fantasy inclined. Like, I would consistently get 30-plus point games from him as the norm.
Yeah.
So, like, good for fantasy players, good for the NFL. Like, players are just going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that with the big three in the AFC, Mahomes, Watson, and Lamar, you start to see that quarterbacks can now be different. They can do different things and still be amazing.
I absolutely. I really think that we saw a change of the guard in the AFC this year, and it was nice to see it, and it showed in divisional weekend when three of the young quarterbacks that represent the AFC were playing, and it was great to see. It was great to see at least one of them make the Super Bowl in Mahomes. Who's had just back to back just incredible years. So there you go. All right. So with that we turn the page now to the main event, the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl 54, and there is just so much to talk about. And I'll try to keep it brief with all of it. But the Niners, let's start with the Niners. And if you want to get started, at least rehashing some of the things of the Niners of what the season was, you could start things out.
Okay. So last season the 49ers went 4-12, kind of as I mentioned. They had the second overall draft pick. Mainly because they lost Jimmy Garoppolo early due to injury and couldn't recover from it. Had two different backup quarterbacks who were struggling in this. They're trying to get to their first Super Bowl in 25 years. I think we mentioned that, to tie the Patriots and Steelers for the most all time for teams.
Well, they're trying for their sixth championship, which is
which would tie it.
Yeah.
They started the season undefeated, and then lost to the Seahawks, and then lost to the Ravens and the Falcons after that. So finishing 5-3, but a 13-3 record is nothing to sneeze at all.
Absolutely.
And then in the playoffs, they demolished both of their opponents.
Yep. Absolutely. It was they had a run that we just didn't see coming. I think a lot of us wanted to see this last year in 2018, and then when Garoppolo went down, it was kind of like forget it. It just was flatlined. But this is now they come out of nowhere and they suddenly just became the best team in the league. And I think going into this game, and I love the Chiefs. I think this is the most complete team of the two.
Absolutely.
On both sides, and it's a testament to John Lynch, who is a guy who came out of the broadcast booth to build this team from the ground up. And and John Lynch, by the way, is one of the potential guys that could get inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend, or chosen for the Hall of Fame, because he was a long-time safety for a few organizations, the Buccaneers, the Broncos, and was a great player. And so on top of potentially winning the Super Bowl as a general manager this Sunday, he also could be chosen for the Hall of Fame. So what an incredible journey this is going to be for John Lynch. And the story is Kyle Shanahan. We talked about it earlier. The way that he has turned around this team, and how he came into this off of a 28-3, this awful, comeback loss that just put a stake in the heart of a bunch of Falcon fans, and just Kyle Shanahan just could not get the job done in that Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator, and he went into the Niners with that kind of stigma behind him of that, like, well, are you gonna fold on the big stage again? And now he's back, and he gets a chance to prove people wrong. And guess who was on the other side of that sideline in that game was Jimmy Garoppolo, his future quarterback. And Jimmy G, like, how crazy is it that this is this guy who we were kind of thinking, like, he's gonna continue the reign of the Patriots, he's gonna stay over there. No, he goes to San Francisco, and just in a few years he's leading the team to a Super Bowl. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
Remember too that when Jimmy Garoppolo was traded, he went undefeated the rest of the season.
Yeah, right.
He was undefeated as a starter, starting his first full season.
It was wild. That's what all the hype was going into 2018, because it was like, oh my god, if this guy can remain undefeated. Obviously that didn't end up happening, but he's just and that same guy returned. And of course there's George Kittle. I mean, George Kittle just is a hilarious character, but just one of the most dominant tight ends. And obviously one of the big storylines for this year is going to be the George Kittle versus Travis Kelce story. The longtime Pro Bowl tight end and Kelce versus this young guy in George Kittle, who's taken the league by storm because he's just been he's such a physical, dominant player who just catches the ball and just like throws people to the side as he's running to the end zone. It's incredible. What was Kittle like as like a like, I don't know I know you probably didn't have him as a player on your team, but how good was he in fantasy? Was he
extremely good? It was him, Kelce and Ertz, who are like the top tier of tight ends for this year, and that's definitely going to be the case for next year too.
Yeah,
Kittle's going to be in the top 2 with Kelce.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be he's definitely up there now as like top 2. We have the top 2 tight ends in the league right now in the Super Bowl. It's just great.
They both like last season broke the like receiving yard record.
That's wild.
For tight ends.
Yeah, that's insane.
It ended up like the fact that like George Kittle had more than Kelce, but Kelce has the second most, and they happened in the same year.
it's wild.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that. Like, to see them both play on Super Sunday on the same field again. And by the way, we didn't bring this up. I'll bring it up now. Jimmy G, when he went down with the injury, that was against Kansas City.
It was.
That was.
Yeah, you're right.
So there's your a little bit of like a revenge factor right there. That connection there. And guess what? That was also Patrick Mahomes' first start at home, too. That's like,
no way.
Yes,
wow.
It was.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like that's the weird connections that happen with this game. Like, that's how big. That's how weirdly like this is how. That's why I love the Super Bowl, because there's these storylines you can just put together like this, and it's just like, what the hell? Like you realize these connections.
It was like the NFC Championship game a few years ago with the Vikings and Eagles with Sam Bradford, Nick Foles, and Case Keenum. Like their merry-go-round that they did.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, and the other offensive players I wanted to mention include Emmanuel Sanders. And a guy that got traded from the Broncos, former Super Bowl champion. Like now gets back into the Super Bowl, and Raheem Mostert. The guy he was on a bunch of teams before reaching the Niners. He was with the Eagles, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Browns, the Jets, and the Bears, and that was over just 2 seasons. Until he finally arrived with the Niners in 2016, and he had been a deep backup running back, like not really seen a lot of action, and finally he gets on the field, and he's the most dominant running back right now in this rotation that is already dominant with Coleman and Breida. And Coleman, I don't know about the injury update on Coleman. I'd be interested in that.
It's the Super Bowl. He's going to play.
Yeah, and Coleman also is a carryover of Kyle Shanahan's. When they
were in the Super Bowl.
He experienced the Super Bowl with Shanahan, so it's gonna be fun to see that happen again. And Joe Staley, this guy, offensive lineman for this team, is the only guy from the 2012 Super Bowl that is with this team still, and has been a long time 49er. And there's been years where it seemed like he was not going to want to come back to this team, but he kept on coming back because he had faith, and he's just one of the best offensive linemen in the league, and he had been, especially in the early sides of his career. And now he gets back with the Niners. He's back in this situation as well. On the defensive side, Robert Saleh is the story with the defensive coordinator, just absolutely making a defense work so well. And we talked about Nick Bosa already, how dominance that he has had. Richard Sherman's in the Super Bowl again. Like that's so much fun. I love that Richard Sherman's back. Like you get to hear his story. He has such a fun story too. And he's always has a chip on his shoulder. He always plays tough, and he's a fun player to watch all the time. Dee Ford, former Chief, back playing against his old team. Dee Ford and Frank Clark kind of have a similar situation where they were both tagged by their respective teams and then traded to either of these teams, essentially. So Dee Ford was tagged by the Chiefs and then traded to the Niners. Frank Clark tagged by the Seahawks and then traded
to the Chiefs.
Chiefs, and so they both have very similar situations.
Dee Ford was also former Chief, but also essentially the reason why they didn't get into the Super Bowl last year, thanks to his offside.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is he has been really good about answering to that. Like if you read any of the quotes, that he, whenever he's asked about it, he's really honest. He's like, I screwed up on that play, and I have to remember that, every not to think too far ahead and not to get into my head, as much,
Yeah.
And he's really been smart about that. I mentioned I wrote down Jimmy Ward and Jaquez Tartt because that's part of a great secondary, great pass defense. But they're also former high school teammates, and they're now in the Super Bowl together. I think that's really fun. Yeah. And it's just generally others to name, like Robbie Gould. You gotta speak on Robbie Gould, my friend. Mr.
I gotta speak on Robbie Gould. Robbie Gould winning the Super Bowl would be amazing. It would be bittersweet, but it would be amazing. He deserves it. I remember going to a Bears training camp once, and he was warming up doing kicks or whatever, and a guy behind the stands or whatever was selling ice cream sandwiches, and Robbie Gould was shouting over "Hey, can I get an ice cream sandwich? Can I get one? I want an ice cream sandwich."
Did he get his ice cream sandwich?
I don't believe so, because he was training.
Well, that's a shame. Give Robbie Gould his ice cream. He deserves it.
I think there was a guy who was in the crowd who just shouted like, I'll buy one for you, Robbie."
Perfect.
But ever just since then, and just him being like the one constant in Sucky Bear's life for a while, was like, it's good. I like him.
Yeah.
I wish he was with us.
He's been playing really well. He's a great kicker.
He has
always like kind of in the top 5 for kicking.
Yeah, absolutely. He deserves it. There's also another story with one of their coaches, Katie Sowers, who I want to bring up, the first female coach in the Super Bowl, as well as the first openly gay coach in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's incredible. That's awesome. Yeah, it's so
that's
cool.
great. Yeah. Hopefully there are more in the future.
Yeah. And I think that's so cool, because I there's a lot of stories of her, like just the fact that she is breaking that glass ceiling, as they say. But I would love to even just hear from her about the matchup more. I feel like I would love to hear more people talking to her, because she seems smart, and it's just she seems like she knows she's really good at what she does, and that's why you know Shanahan brought her over after she was interning with the Falcons, continuing her career. So it's really awesome. And there's something to be said about the backup quarterbacks from last year, C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins. Because especially Nick Mullins. Remember, Nick Mullins was like, he's going to be the future starter of the Niners, because he's playing so well. Like, they stuck around with this team as backups, and now they get to go to the Super Bowl. I know that they didn't play as much this year. They maybe played like 1 or 2 snaps in the game, like maybe in garbage time, but good for them that they stuck around. And C.J. Beathard's going through a really hard time. He just lost his brother, former LIU quarterback, and it was devastating what's happened to him. So we'd love to see him win. Remember Garrett Selleck?
No.
He was the longtime tight end for the Niners before George Kittle showed up. He's still on the roster, but he's on injured reserve, so he's not playing in this game. But he was like the guy for them for a little while before George Kittle showed up. And so he's playing in this game. I believe he's related to, if I'm not mistaken, Brett Selleck. I think. I may be wrong on that. I don't know. Yeah, Brett Selleck. Yeah, he's the younger brother of Brett Selleck of the Eagles. So very good. Marquise Goodwin. Remember Marquise Goodwin being the number 1 wide receiver for this team? He's on the injured reserve too. Jerick McKinnon, who was going to be the number 1 running back, also on injured reserve. But all these guys, like this was the original starters for this team. And though they'll not get to play in this game, they kind of help the Niners get through some of the tougher years, and they get to bask in a Super Bowl title. And last but not least, just a few players that were such longtime Niners players that are no longer with the team. NaVorro Bowman, longtime linebacker with the team, didn't get a chance to win the Super Bowl when he was there in 2012. He deserves a lot of credit, for having stuck around for as long as he did before they ultimately ended up releasing him. And I think about Colin Kaepernick too, and Eric Reid. These two guys were like the cornerstones of the 49ers franchise.
Yeah.
Until, everything that happened with the kneeling, and they got blackballed out of the Niners situation. And I just wonder what would have happened if, I guess, they didn't do it. But I also don't wish. I wish that they didn't do it, obviously. But like,
right, what would have happened if that?
Yeah.
It's because the Niners were really bad when that happened.
Yes.
And it's not because of them, but just they were a bad team.
Yeah.
And Shanahan that went down Shanahan's first year, and Shanahan started with a bad team.
Yeah.
That's just how it was.
Yeah, that was I think that was actually Chip Kelly's year. Chip Kelly was the head coach at the time.
Oh, it was Chip Kelly's year, yeah.
Yeah, but remember Chip Kelly? Like, remember all the turnover with the Niners?
I forgot Chip Kelly was the coach for the Niners.
Remember how this was years with the head coaching changes? It's ridiculous.
I literally forgot. I legitimately was like, oh, it was Harbaugh, and then it was Shanahan. No. Yeah. They had Chip Kelly, and did they have some other guy in there?
Jim Tomsula. That was in 2015.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, turning a franchise... Talking about turning a franchise around.
Yeah. It's insane. They did such a good job. And there's other Niners in there, but I'm sure they're all, we don't have to go too deep into that moving forward. All right, let's talk about the Chiefs now.
So the Chiefs went 13-3 last season. Were the number 1 seed. They were the best team in the AFC, but lost in the AFC Championship game to the Patriots. Now made it 2 in a row. They're trying to win their first championship in 50 years, which they also the first one they've made in 50 years.
Yep.
And they're second overall. They started 5-3, though part of that was due to missing Mahomes for a couple of those games, and finished 7-1.
Yeah, their only loss in that stretch was to the Titans, who they got revenge against later.
Exactly. And they had early deficits in both of their playoff games, which they were able to come back and defeat, including a monstrous deficit against the Texans.
Yeah.
One that, like, after the first quarter, we were like, okay, it's going to be an AFC... Like, literally everyone thought after the first quarter it was going to be an AFC South, AFC Championship.
Yeah. And
then the second quarter happened, and then the rest of the game happened. And it was Chiefs.
Yeah. They given their fans just constant, like, heart attack moments where it's just like, oh my god, the season's gonna end right here. And then basically by the end of the second half, it's like, oh no, it's not, everything's fine. And yeah, the Texans game was just insane. I can't get over that. And I know it obviously didn't end with, like, the box score like of being close or anything, but that was one of the most exciting halves of football that you would ever see. It was just incredible. And the story, of course, of this Chiefs team is Patrick freaking Mahomes. The guy that got drafted in the middle of the first round, the Chiefs traded with the Bills in order to get him. And Mahomes...
Then he rode the bench for a year.
Yeah, he was on the bench for the year behind Alex Smith. Then they sent Alex Smith to Washington, and they're like, all right, now it's Mahomes' team. And Mahomes, just that 2018 season, took off. It was one of the most insane quarterback seasons you would ever see. One of the greatest quarterback seasons you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then the next season, this year, he did it again. It was a little bit more under the radar, and he dislocated his knee against the Broncos and was out for a few weeks. But he was still Mahomes, and he was still making these crazy plays. Like, to me, like, Mahomes, I loved Lamar Jackson this year, but I really think Mahomes is a lot of people's, including myself, like, favorite quarterback right now.
Yeah.
And
he's really he's obviously the focal point of this offense. We talk about, I say the word focal point a lot, but it is the engine that makes the offense go.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that without the receivers that he has, and he has a lot of great receivers. Travis Kelce, we talked about his connection with George Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
You have I want to get to Tyreek Hill like in a second. When I'm not just kind of rattling off names.
That's fine. Go for it.
So, but you have him, and then you have this collection of Sammy Watkins, Hardman, Robinson, and Pringle, who one of them's a wide receiver too. Depends on the game, but that's another point of fantasy football contention, is that you didn't want to start a Chiefs wide receiver because you didn't know which game they would actually be good for.
Byron Pringle was the leading receiver of the Chiefs' loss to the Colts. He was the leading receiver.
Exactly.
It's insane.
Yeah. And then there's your backfield of Damian Williams and sometimes LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, he's been inactive for a few games now.
Yeah, which could just be saving him.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah.
Damian Williams actually, once when Damian Williams gets going, he's great. Just because Andy Reid knows how to use the running back, but you don't always know if Damian Williams is going to be the one playing. And then you have Tyreek Hill, who we started the season not knowing if he would play in the NFL again.
Right.
Because of what he did.
Yep.
And whether or not he deserves to be here or not, I don't know. But you can't deny that the offense is as good as it is because of Hill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah. You have Andy Reid, who is probably the biggest. I didn't mean to say it like that, but
it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah. He's the biggest winner. I think if he ends up winning this, he'll be the biggest winner because he has been such a good coach for so long that just has not gotten a Super Bowl win.
Yeah. Only Super Bowl appearance as a head coach was with the Eagles, when the Patriots got their third Super Bowl championship in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And ever since then, he's had the reputation of poor clock management. He's the
Doesn't
best.
Know how to use timeouts.
Yeah, best
in the playoffs.
Best regular season coach. Yeah. Getting that name. He's one of the best coaches of all time. You look at his record, you look at everything that he's done in his career, and everyone loves him. I think, and I know that the Super Bowl matters, I really think he deserves a spot in canon if he does not win a Super Bowl, just because how well he has been a coach. He's just, you can't, everyone says you can't tell a story, you can't tell the NFL story without, and I know it's such a stupid thing to say about every single Hall of Famer, but it's true. You can't tell a story about the NFL without Andy Reid and his stupid pass punt whatever video of him being the super tall guy with all the little kids. They're all the same age, throwing the ball. He's so lovable and he's such a great coach, and he's the guy you want to most root for in this game. It's so great. I'm really excited for him that he's there, and he brought in Brett Veach as the GM because he was a longtime Eagles assistant, personnel guy. He brought in Eric Bieniemy, who's had a breakout year as an offensive coordinator, and everyone says oh, Andy Reid's the one calling the plays, but Bieniemy is a big part of planning, of the offensive planning part, and he does call plays every once in a while as well. So they all deserve credit. And what about that line? That offensive line with Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz at both ends just absolutely dominated. The doctor in the middle, Laurent, I apologize, I'm going to get this wrong. Laurent Duvernay Tardif has a PhD. He's a doctor.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on that offensive line, and big reason why this team is succeeding is because of this line is just protecting Mahomes and opening up holes for the running game.
Former Illini on the offensive line as well, Nick Allegretti.
There you go. That's actually a rookie, so he just graduated.
Yep.
To get there.
I have a big connection to Illini players, especially when they were playing while I was in marching band.
Yeah, there you go. And on the defensive side, obviously the Chiefs defense gets, people poo-poo it a lot with this defense, but I don't want to hear about the Chiefs' poor rushing defense when they completely contained Derrick Henry, the monstrosity that was Derrick Henry for 2 games. The fact that they were able to contain him in that game in Kansas City, they come on, give them credit. They've absolutely turned around and have played very well. Chris Jones is a big reason for that. He's been dealing with injury, but he's there. And of course, we had to talk about Tyrann Mathieu, who's just one of the most likable guys. He has a story of just having a rough time in college and finally finding his way, finding his voice, and becoming a face of this defense, and a leader for this defense, and Tyrann Mathieu. What about Terrell Suggs, too? A guy who replaced Emmanuel Ogbah, former Raven, longtime Raven. He gets another opportunity at the Super Bowl as well. it's this defense deserves a lot of credit. Frank Clark as well, like, and the linebackers, Damian Wilson and Anthony Hitchens have both played well as linebackers, and I just don't. I really think that I understand that this defense compared to the Niners is like Niners just definitely have the better defense, but I don't doubt this team, especially just that they have great people on it that I feel like anything can happen with this team. I think that they have a shot at keeping the team together. I wrote down Harrison Butker and Dustin Colquitt because what's funny when you compare the special teams between these two teams, Harrison Butker is like the young kicker playing very well. Robbie Gould is like the old guard kicker playing really well. Dustin Colquitt is the old guard punter who's very good, who's been a long time Pro Bowler. And then the Niners have a rookie who played really well this year, Mitch Wisniewski, I think his name is. So I think that's a fun dynamic. And of course, Dave Toom who's long been considered for a head coaching position for the Chiefs, the special teams coordinator. Of course, spearheading this as well. LeSean McCoy's in the Super Bowl for the first time in his career. And Spencer Ware, a longtime Chiefs running back, also in his first Super Bowl. Probably neither will play, but that's where we're at. Matt Moore.
I think McCoy might be made active.
I hope so. Give him an opportunity to play. Matt Moore's also in this game. Remember, he was the Dolphins quarterback starter. And now
Tannehill went down.
When Tannehill went down,
started in the playoffs.
Yeah, and started in the playoffs, and so now he gets to go on a Super Bowl run. Juan Thornhill, you feel bad for him. He played a great year as safety. Unfortunately, went down with an injury. Won't be playing in this game, but his impact on this team this year is everlasting. Kendall Fuller, remember, this guy is the guy they traded Alex Smith for. And he's done all right. He hasn't done amazing in his position, but he's the reminder of the older Chiefs kind of now with this, and kind of how he opened up the pathway for Patrick Mahomes to kind of come in and take over. So he's kind of significant in that sense. And of course you think about Alex Smith, who I don't even know if he'll ever play football again because of the terrible injury he did, but how important he has been to the Kansas City Chiefs in the years past. And he doesn't get to experience this, but I'm sure they're thinking about him. Speaking of that, Eric Berry, guy gets released last year, a guy that beat cancer and just had such an inspirational story, and he's took the year off and he's looking to come back, but he won't be able to experience the Super Bowl. And so I think about him as well. Jamal Charles and Justin Houston, Derek Johnson, Tamba Ali, all these great Chiefs names that were played so well for the Chiefs over the years and were so major playoff players. They're not on this team anymore. Most of them are retired. Justin Houston, of course, playing on the Colts right now. But you just think about a lot of the longtime Chiefs who've tried and tried and tried to get this team there, and finally this team is here. And the Niners, they have a great story in a short-term way from where they come back from, but Kansas City has the best story, I think, in the Super Bowl, just because of how long it has been for them and how long it's been for this fan base to get to this point. And I think with that, let's talk game and let's talk our picks.
All right. God.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to give each of these guys a lot of time to talk about. I wanted to really talk about a lot of these teams just because there's so much to love about both of them. And I think that's what's so great about this year's Super Bowl, because you really could root for either one. I wanted to give each of them their due on this. What do you think, Matt? Talk to me. What's going through your mind right now? You don't have to give me your pick right now, but what's going through your mind when you're thinking about this matchup?
I'll tell you what's going through my mind. I still don't have my pick. You did 2 weeks. I will have a pick.
Yeah, 10 days.
I will have one. But I know. But that's that's kind of the what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
the both these teams have so much to root for.
mm-hmm.
Both of these teams have the pieces to do it. They have great offenses. They have great defenses. They can each do it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why they're here. Obviously, duh. But
Yeah.
it's hard to pick between them. You had the unstoppable Raheem Mostert with his 4 touchdowns, 200-yard game. But you have the Chiefs defense that shut down Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Patrick Mahomes, who had 2 insane comebacks against Richard Sherman and like a really, really hard to beat front.
Mm-hmm.
It is like on both sides of the ball, on both teams, there are superstars, and there is a connection and a will to win this game.
Yeah.
That's what's going through my head right now.
It is. It's so difficult. It's one of. It's just. I think it's fair to say it's one of the harder Super Bowls that I've had to pick because.
Yeah. I mean, in the past 3 years,
it's been Patriots.
It's been Patriots, and yeah. I've always picked against the Patriots.
Yeah. It's you kind of know where you stand, but when it legitimately, like when it comes to when it does come down to two teams that you're not used to being in this position, it does get a little tougher because both teams play so well. And I think the last time the Patriots were not around was the Panthers Broncos. I think both of you and I forget we picked together, right? I think we picked the playoffs. I
think we did playoffs that season together.
Yeah, I think we both picked the Panthers to win, and because we thought the Panthers were just so good, and the Broncos just had a good run. So I think it seemed such an obvious pick, and then the Broncos with their defense, and that's the thing. It's like defense wins championships, and then like you kind of want to go Niners. But then you can't. It's like Patrick Mahomes is there.
It's Patrick Mahomes.
It's like Patrick Mahomes, so it's like
that was 50, and then you look at 51, which was the 28-3 comeback.
Yep.
Which wasn't a defensive thing. You saw the Eagles and the Patriots the next year, who like broke a scoring record in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Just kind.
And then last year, nothing happened.
Yeah, that Super Bowl
last year didn't exist.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Super Bowl.
Last year was the defense wins championships. The defense won that championship.
Yeah,
and then passed into Julian Edelman.
Yeah, it just. I really do think I would make the argument that even though the Niners seem like the more balanced team, I think this is the most like balanced across the board. I think for the two teams, at least
between two teams being matched up.
Yeah, definitely.
Remember. And you like, I remember 48. It was the number one defense Seahawks versus the number one offense Broncos. Like historic number one offense Broncos.
Right.
And you saw how well that turned out.
Yeah. Right. Like none of these teams are necessarily historic, but they're just so good, and they're all it's fun because this is a battle between two great offensive minds in Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan. Like these two teams embrace the new age thinking, and it's fun. And that's what makes it a lot of fun. You have two great coordinators as well battling it out with Bieniemy and Saleh, two guys that should have probably gotten head coaching jobs but didn't. It's just I don't know which. I don't know which one of us should just say who we want first. Like I don't know.
If it comes to the like our personal pick competition, I could be a douchebag and just pick whoever you did, and then I would win our competition no matter what.
Right.
But that's not what I'm gonna do.
Well, I mean, and there is like I would say like in terms of like just rooting interest. Like I've said. Like I said, I really have tried, I've painted the picture for both teams as being very likable and very easy to root for. If I had to lean toward the team in terms of rooting interest, though, I would have to pick Kansas City just because of Andy Reid. Just because I really want Andy Reid to get his Super Bowl. Right. But in terms of the actual matchup, Mike Shanahan, Kyle's father, he was the head coach of the Broncos when the Broncos won their first Super Bowl in 1997 against the Packers, Andy Reid was the quarterback coach of that team, of the Packers. I think I don't know if that was Andy Reid's first Super Bowl or not. It might not have been, because I think the Packers played the year before. But I think all these years later, I think Andy Reid gets his revenge on Mike's son. I think that the Chiefs have just been on such a run that even if they fall behind, which I know that's going to be hard to come back from against this Niners defense if they do fall behind again. But I think that the Chiefs have pulled out crazy situations. I don't think that they've like Patrick Mahomes has never been in a blowout loss before.
No.
And I don't see Mahomes slowing down in this game. I really don't. It's their toughest team that they had to face to date, and I really believe in Mahomes. I gotta go with the Chiefs. I'm picking the Chiefs.
God, dude, this is hard.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, like this is for all the marbles. Legitimately, I'm happy with either of these teams winning.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Legitimately. Like, they both deserve it. They're both great. I don't hate either of them.
Mm-hmm.
I have felt it in my gut of guts.
Mm-hmm.
My gut.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stalling.
I don't feel anything in my gut, but I'm hoping something will rise soon in my gut.
Yes, the poison, Cusco's poison. The poison meant specifically for Cusco. I felt in my gut for a really long time this past week and a half for the 49ers.
You think the Niners?
And no matter, like, I've been going back and forth. I've been saying to some people, I was like, well, my heart says Chiefs, but my brain says Niners.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my gut says Niners too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 2-1.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the Niners in this. Fuck.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's hard.
It's a tough bat, but I think that that's what's gonna make this game great, is that it's two teams that are gonna match up really well, and I really think it's gonna be a good game. I
do too.
I think it's gonna really work out, and like you said, I am down for whatever happens. However it happens. I think it's gonna be both great. And it's going to be heartbreaking, whoever has to walk away and lose. But it's going to be great for the team that wins.
It's funny.
Obviously.
The past 3 years, we have had a team to root against.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew who we were going to root for. We knew who we were going to root against, and that was just how it was.
Yeah.
And now we don't have an enemy. We do not have we don't have a place to direct our anger towards, or our rooting interest towards, just because we like both of these teams so much. And like, rooting for one is gonna feel bad because then the other's gonna lose.
Yeah, right. And like, I even think like the Panthers Broncos Super Bowl, I think both of us were leaning towards rooting for the Panthers. Like, this is like the first time in a long time that the Chiefs, like, that there is a legitimate Super Bowl where you just...
before that was Seahawks Patriots, which I was actually rooting for the Patriots back then. Still gross. And before that it was Seahawks Broncos, and I was kind of big in Seahawks on that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like, you don't... This is like the first time where you just have two really likable teams, and it's going to be a great game, and I am so excited for it to kick off, and I know everyone else is too. I know it's been a long podcast, but we got one last segment to get to. We pushed it off last week. And we have come on, the true event, the true event of the season is going to be the alternative universe Super Bowl that I've, successfully hacked into.
Yep.
And I have the results from the championship round that I will now share with you all, if I can find it on my phone. It is.
See it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So the Browns at the Chargers was the AFC Championship game. And it was a pretty close game. But both games were actually pretty close, I would say. But basically the tide changed when the Browns threw where Baker Mayfield threw an interception to Casey Hayward late in the fourth quarter, and it sealed the game for the Los Angeles Chargers. Melvin Gordon ran for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. Joey Bosa got 4 sacks in the game, and then the Chargers is the AFC representative after beating the Browns 20-10.
Okay, and that seems like a team that should have made the actual Super Bowl this year.
Yes, it does. Then you have the Buccaneers at the Giants. And, I mean, I really thought the Bucs were going to win this game because they were the much better team down the stretch than the Giants. But then something went wrong, and I think the Bucs just decided to just suck with time management because they were not using any of their timeouts, and they were just letting the clock run. And it took the rookie safety Julian Love to return a fumble for a touchdown to seal the game away for the Giants, 17-16. And I swear to God, I did not stage it this way. You have to put faith in me. I did not mean to stage it this way. It is the Giants at the Chargers in Super Bowl 54 in the alternative reality. And look, I think it's only fair that I think that I haven't heard from the NFL in a little while. Maybe because it's been a few weeks since I've really talked about this, but I really think that in order for me to be fair to you all about what we've done, over the past few weeks with this, that I get to show you this Super Bowl. I will show the Super Bowl to the world. We're going to have a Twitch TV party, essentially. We're going to live stream this football game on Twitch.
Oh, no, you're not.
On Team Chaos Productions.
Oh, no, you're not.
Twitch.tv/Team Chaos Productions when we...
No.
Where we get... Why are you saying no?
Chris?
Why are you saying no?
I hate to break it to you this late into our run. I've been working for the NFL this entire time.
What? What? Wait, what were you going to tell me this?
It's a secret, dude. Come on. Duh.
Secret underground operation. All right.
Secret. Well, yeah, because I got you were sticking your nose where it shouldn't have been, and you were digging shit up about spending, journalistic virtues or whatever.
It's not
and
right.
You got caught, and now you're trying to air out some secrets that don't need to be aired out.
But what if
So we're gonna put a stop to it, and you're not gonna live stream this, and you're gonna stop this fucking alternate reality bullshit.
I hear you out. I hear what you're saying.
Are you?
I am, and I feel betrayed at the moment. I
just tried to stop you.
I know you've hated this segment from the very beginning, but I also think that there's something in this for the NFL. I do. I genuinely do. And just, you gotta hear me out.
The NFL that has a lot of money already.
But the NFL loves getting even more money. Am I right?
Go on.
So, what if we live stream this Super Bowl on twitch.tv/Team Chaos Productions? What if we live stream it this Saturday at 8 o'clock? And what if a lot of people tune in? And what if a lot of people are actually interested in this? Wouldn't you, the NFL, want to bring this to this reality? Like, wouldn't you want to broadcast this? Like, especially, like, the XFL now exists. Why not, just to piss off the XFL, show this alternative reality where everything just went differently for all these NFL teams? It would be a fascinating case study, and it would bring in all, like, even just forget about, like, you know, the coolness of the factor. It would bring in a crap ton of money to the NFL. Why not?
This could be the Thursday Night Football of Super Bowls.
You know what? Considering the matchup, it definitely is the Thursday Night Football.
It's definitely the Thursday Night Football of Super Bowls.
Of Super Bowls. I just ask that you give me a chance. Let's broadcast this. And you know what? We're a small podcasting group. You know, the Twitch, it probably won't get as many viewers as we'd like to think. But
of course,
I really think that if we introduce this alternative reality to the rest of the world, that there is going to be someone out there, and I think a bunch of someone's out there, that would think, huh, that's insane.
Are you trying to exposure the NFL?
I am trying to open up I want to, first of all, like, you work for the NFL, like, how in the world did you guys open up the other reality? Like, that's what I want to know, actually.
I don't know, dude. I'm just the hitman. I mean, the investigator.
I'm the hitman. So, all right. Well, I don't know how you guys did it, and I think that a lot of people would like to find out how you guys did it, and that's, you know, we'll figure that out at some point. But regardless, will you allow me to do this live stream just once? And then, you know what? If it doesn't work out, we will never do this again. We'll never even talk about it again.
If it doesn't work out, I get to break your shins.
I don't necessarily like that idea, but you know what? I'll take the shins breaking than anything else happening. You know, anything else happening to my body. If I have to risk my shins, that's fine.
Excellent.
Okay. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, this Saturday at 8 p.m. or around there, we'll see how it works out.
Eastern time, yes.
8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be live streaming on twitch.tv/Team Chaos Productions. Do not go there. I mean, or maybe when the time this podcast goes out, it'll be up, but it may not be available yet for you to follow. But we're going to make sure to advertise it on our Twitch, or on both of our Virtual Ball Boys and the Team Chaos Productions Twitter pages. So stay tuned for that. I will be there. Matt will try to be there as well. And maybe we'll have some other people, some other friends of ours, gather around and watch this Super Bowl with us on the eve of the Super Bowl, of the real Super Bowl.
Sounds exciting.
So stay tuned for all of that. We'll keep you guys posted. With all that being said, it has been a long-ass podcast, our longest to date, but it was worth it for this. Thank you all so much for tuning in this entire season, and it's all come down to this. I hope you all enjoy Super Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
Don't drink and drive. Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.